Hi, welcome to One Day to Love. I'm so happy that you could be here with us today. I'm at my mother's, so I'm on location in Maryland today. My guest today is a star of several different daytime television shows, which you know him from, and several nighttime television shows as well, and films. He's also done directing, producing, acting, hosting, you name it. He's a marvelous dancer, he's a cowboy at heart, and he's here with us today. Please help me welcome J. Eddie Peck. There
Oh,
you
wait a minute.
are.
There, can you see me?
Ta-da!
Can you see me okay?
Yes, your setup is so much better than mine.
Yours is fantastic. I
I'm
love
not
the
home. I'm
windows.
not home. It's dark. I
Yeah.
family
Whose
remote.
windows?
I know it's dark though, very
But
dark.
no, that's so cool. Is that your parents' home?
One of the rooms in the house. Yeah, it's a really big.
That is really
And I
cool.
tried to get a place that they wouldn't I wouldn't have to hear them because we're loud.
Yes.
We're a very loud family.
Oh, yes. I
Very.
I I am from a very loud family, and we are an extremely loud family. Yeah. I mean, it's just non-stop. Between my two sons and me, it is non-stop jokes, impressions, characters. We're in mode all the time.
Yeah, and
And
everybody
I think
talks at the same time here.
everybody talks at the same time. Hello.
Yeah,
Um,
and it's
I
all
always
girls.
wondered, God gave me something that did not allow me to wear these very well.
Oh, I can't wear them at all.
I've dropped like two pair in the pool, and like when I'm cleaning the pool, which I do a lot.
How do they
But
do in the pool?
well, I think they do okay.
You saved them
But
and they still work?
well, actually, it didn't work. They were supposed to be, I think, somewhat waterproof, but it didn't work. But I had the warranty on it, and I was able to exchange them.
Nice.
Yeah, so they did take them back,
That's good.
and without a lot of question. But
So where are you right now?
I'm at home.
Where do you
I'm at
live?
home. I live in Santa Clarita.
Oh, it's beautiful up there.
Yeah, thank you, thank
Yeah, I
you.
really like it up there. I shot a
Yeah,
little episode of something up there and it was really
yeah, yeah. They do a lot of filming here, and I first got introduced to this area in 1980. Uh, I was doing commercials and things, and we shot a lot of commercials out here. And I started dating my wife in 1983, and she would come out here with me. And I'd say, you know what, I want to buy a house out here. I had horses at the time that
wow.
I boarded at the equestrian center, and I always wanted to have a place here in LA or, in California where I
You
could
were
have my
so
horses.
smart to get in it that year.
I got in, I actually, I bought a home in Newport Beach in 1985 on my first series. And
Wow.
a year later, I bought a home in Valencia,
Wow.
and I was in my 20s, and that really helped me.
Yeah.
I always tell my kids, I actually bought my first house when I was 19 in
Yeah,
my
I was
hometown.
32 with my first
Yeah.
one.
But I was just one of these people that I never ever wanted to rent. I tell my boys
Me
all the
too.
time, and your mom and I, we ate tuna, we ate pasta, we didn't eat out, we saved our money. I was always, I'm not going to pay rent, I'm not going to pay rent, I'm going to own. And I got into real estate at an early age, and
Yeah.
and it really helped me.
Yeah, me
Yeah.
too. Me
Yeah.
too. Now it doesn't seem like the kids really want to do that so much.
Mine do.
Good.
Mine do. Yeah, my boys own a home, and
They
yeah,
sure are handsome.
thank you. I
I'll have to
appreciate it.
send you some pictures of my girls and see what we can do.
Yes. Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Is one of them single?
Yes, yes. Yeah, one
Okay.
instinct.
Well, I passed your
Yeah.
pic. I passed their pictures along.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Thanks.
they're pretty.
They
My
are
my
they're
girl.
quite tall. Um,
Yeah, one's almost 6'7", you said.
yes, yes, and the other is 6'4".
That's that's
The
amazing.
one who's 6'4" is kind of normal, but the other boy, he's very tall, and he when he walks into a room, it's like,
Is
oh,
that Austin?
yeah, that's my oldest son.
Is
Yeah.
that Austin?
Yes,
Yeah.
Austin.
Yeah, I
The
saw.
other the other boy is Dalton. Yeah.
Yeah, and they both model, right?
No, no, neither one of them. Well, I say no. neither one of them have ever pursued modeling, but my youngest boy is a really good surfer, and he's lived in Newport Beach for 12 years, and he literally has had companies call and book him right off his Instagram. So he's
Wow.
like, "Oh, Dad," and then also too, he's a really good motorcycle rider. So he's been hired to do stunts and
You're
riding his
kidding.
bike, doing crazy things, and he's got really cool cars. So he has
Does
kind of
Sonia
worked.
let him do that? Does Sonia have a heart
Well,
attack?
yeah. She tries not to. She doesn't look,
That
and
would drive
sometimes
me nuts.
I tell her if you saw the stuff that they ask him to do and that he does, you would not sleep at night.
It'd be
So
very scary.
it is
Very
scary.
scary. I
Yeah.
know. I know. We're
But
so.
neither one of them pursued modeling. My wife and I were both models,
Hmm.
and that's actually how we met. And I I don't know why. It just they're such great guys, but they're not showy. You know what I mean? They're those kind of guys. If they were late for class, they were not going to walk in tardy. Like I remember when I would take my youngest to school, he's like, "Dad, I'd rather just miss the whole day than walk in late." I'm like, "Son, who cares? You're 5 minutes late." No, I'm not going to walk in late. Everybody look at you. And that's kind of
Isn't
the
that
way
something?
they both don't like to draw attention to themselves, but um,
They can't
I've,
help it. They're 6'4" and 6'7", gorgeous men.
yeah,
When they walk in a room, somebody's going to notice them.
yeah. Well, I tell them all the time that modeling for me was a really great opportunity. I didn't actually come here from the Ozarks, Southwest Missouri. I didn't come here to model. I originally came here to do voiceovers. I was a DJ through school, and I came here to
I
do
read
voiceover.
that.
Yeah. And my first day in town, I was staying with a friend of mine, and he was an architect, and he lived in Beverly Hills and in an apartment. And he went to work, and he said, "Hey, man, go chill during the day." And I went around a couple of blocks away, and I met. I went and looked at a house, or I went and looked at an apartment, and got to talking to the apartment manager, who later became a friend of mine for many, many years. And he has a connection to a daytime star. I'll tell you that in just a minute.
Oh,
But
wow.
anyway, I got to talking. He actually managed an apartment building that had studios and one bedrooms, and they rented mostly to actors who lived out of town, who would rent these places, come in town for pilot season, this and that. And there was a number of different stars. And there was a guy who his name was Lance Gordon, and Lance was a longtime Winston man and actually passed away of lung cancer. And I met Lance my very first day in town, and I asked him, "How did you get into stunts?" I said, "I was an athlete when I was in school," and I said, "How did you get into stunts?" And he said, "Well, I played pro football for the Minnesota Vikings," and he said, "I came out here to be an actor, and I was too large. I ended up doubling Clint Eastwood." He says, "And I double Clint a lot. He's really given me a career."
Wow.
And anyway, he said, "Well, what sports did you do?" And I kind of told him, "Yeah, well, I did basketball and different sports and things." And I said, "But I'm actually a pretty good diver. I like to call myself a diver. And I was a good diver." And he says, "Really?" He says, "I have a friend of mine. He's a stunt man, and I know he said he was going in on a commercial where they were looking for the lead guy to be a diver." I'm like, "Really?" He goes, "Yeah, yeah." He's thinking. He says, "You know what? Let me go call him and see where it's at."
That's
And
so,
he goes and he calls and he comes back. I'm just talking to him in the doorway of his
yeah.
apartment with this new friend of mine that I just met standing there. And he says, "Yeah." He says, "It's callbacks and it's at Pepperdine University diving pool." And I'm like, "Oh, okay. All right. What's Pepperdine University? And he says, Pepperdine. Oh, okay. And he says, and it's callbacks. I'm like, "Well, what's a callback?" "Well, that's when they see, 200 guys that say they can dive, and they bring the ones they like to the pool and find out who can really dive." I crashed that audition 3 hours later. I hit the dive pool. And right when I was trying to think of the casting director's name, I know her name, Judy. I want to say Elkins. Judy Elkins was her name. And she spots me. She said, "Hey, who are you? You're not on the callback list. Who are you? I just came in and signed my name."
Oh my gosh.
And she says, "And I'm at the dive pool up on the platform." And she's like, "Are you on the Pepperdine diving team?" I said, "No." She says, "You're the Stuntman's Association?" "No." "Well, then who are you?" I said, "Well, I was just told about the audition, and I'm here. I'm a diver. I'm here to dive." She says, "Oh, no, 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 no. You're not crashing the audition. No, no, no. You're going to have to leave. You're going to have to leave." And I started to turn to leave, and one of the ad clients from J. Walter Thompson stands up. He's out on the table by the pool. "Hey, wait a minute. The tall guy, where's he going?" She says, "He's not in the union. He's crashed the audition. He's not on the diving team, and he's leaving." He's "No, no, no. Hold on to that guy. I want to see that guy dive." And I dove and ended up, they Taft Hartley'd me, and
Yep,
I got into Screen Actors Guild, and I got my first commercial agent my very first day in town.
me too.
Yeah. How
Me
did
too.
yours go? What did
That
you
doesn't
have?
happen. That doesn't happen. That does not happen. You know that does not happen.
Well, it
It
has
happened
happened.
to
I've
us,
told
but
that
it
story a
doesn't.
few times, and I've had some friends that have had much better stories than that. But
Really?
yeah, I have. It's funny. Uh, if you talk with a lot of people that have worked a lot more than I have, uh, there are a lot of people that have incredible stories on how they got discovered, how they got started, who found them, how fast they rose, and it's amazing because I had a very fortunate, very lucky story,
Me too.
and but there are people that have much. They didn't go into a commercial; they got thrown into a film. Tell me your story. I'm dying to hear it now.
Well, I was Miss Maryland in Miss USA pageant,
Yes.
and there was a actor from Three's Company who was one of the judges, and
Oh,
then
was it Klein?
Larry, yeah, Richard Klein, yeah,
Richard Klein. Yes. Uh-huh.
and when he saw me the day after the pageant, and I always joke because it was raining cats and dogs outside, and it was in Biloxi, Mississippi, and there was no place to go, nothing to do. The only thing they had there was the convention center. So they had the convention center there, and they had the Miss USA pageant there to promote Biloxi so that they could make Biloxi a big deal like it is now.
Sure.
But at the
Sure.
time, there was nothing to do. There was one hotel. It was called the Royal
Right.
Riverville, and it was all glass. And there were two happy people, the girl that won and her mom, and everybody else was looking at their clock. How much later
Oh,
is the plane? How much more hours
oh
are we gonna have to
gosh.
be in here? We had to wait for hours and hours. No one could fly out. Nobody. So there's all these people that are not very happy, stuck there from all over the country. And Richard walked up to me and he said, "I just want you to see my paperwork because I thought you should win." So he shows me all my scores that he gave me. And, and I said, "Well, I knew Sean Weatherly was my competition when I got here. I knew it. And I told my pageant director that. And she won. So I wasn't surprised." And he said, "Well, they wanted you to be 21." And I said, "Well, yeah, but she also really deserved it. She was a really beautiful girl, blah, blah, blah." And he goes, "So you want to be an actress? And you want to move to New York?" And I said, "Yeah." He goes, "You belong in LA." And I said, "Oh, that's nice of you to say, but there's no way I'm leaving my family. I'm a real family girl. I'm not moving to California." And he said, "Well, you really should. You really should." So a couple hours later, we're still all waiting in the lobby, trying to think of something to do. And it was time to have lunch. So Dad asked me if I would ask Richard to have lunch with us. We
Mm.
did. And he told me to read Michael Shurtleff's audition, and if there's anything you can think of that you want to do besides act, that you should do that. And I said, "I know, but there isn't, except news. I love politics and I love news. So that would be what I would fall back on if this didn't work. But I want to finish school and then I'll do it." So we had a lovely time. I came home and my pageant director got some calls from people, and so my dad said, "Call Richard Klein to see if he'll tell you about these managers that want to see you." And I said, "He's not going to answer the phone. He's not going to, forget it. It's not going to work." Well, he did answer the phone and he talked to his manager about me. So I went ahead and flew out there and I met his manager. And his manager said there was a TGI, was an agency across the street, if I wanted to go meet them. And so I did. I didn't have any pictures or anything. And they had me read something and they called Michael and said they wanted to hire me. They wanted to sign me.
Mhm.
So then Michael said, "Well, I don't want her to sign with the first person I send her to." And so he started doing some. you know, calls and stuff. And um, I went in for a Hager Slacks commercial. Do you remember Hager Slacks?
I worked for them too. Yes.
So I went
Yeah.
to do a
Yeah.
Hager Slacks commercial and they took a Polaroid of me and I got the damn commercial.
Huh.
And that was wild. Polaroid. Boop.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so that just kept happening. The next thing was NBC. I got a miniseries with NBC called Gangster Chronicles, and
Uh-huh.
then I got a job on a movie called Liar's Moon with Matt Dillon. So I had to go to Houston for six
Right. I
weeks,
remember that
shoot
movie.
that movie.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was crazy. It was crazy.
That's incredible, huh?
Yeah, it was crazy. And I
Yeah.
worked, and I decided to do a soap opera after I did a pilot because the pilot didn't sell.
Right.
And I went on the road with Hoyt Axton, who played my dad,
Of
and
course. Yeah.
sang for hour, for days and days, for the whole
Yes.
one-nighters for 90 days, the whole summer.
Yes.
And then I came back and I said, I want to do a soap opera.
Huh.
And my manager was mad at me and my agent was mad at me. And I just wanted more stability in my life. I was
Absolutely.
I was like 22.
Yeah. I was the same way. That's why I got into daytime. I had done well,
You
I
did a
had
lot of movies. I
I
still
did I did I recorded on a sitcom first, and then it was called Double Trouble, and then uh I got my first series, which was for ABC. It was a Western called Wild Side, and I played the son of literally my childhood favorite actor, William Smith. I loved him as a kid growing up. He was on some of my favorite shows, and I got to play his son in this series, and that's truly why I got it. Um, but and then I did my first lead in a major a film that got a major release. I got the lead in that. I got lucky to get that. That was dangerously close. And then and then I got on Dynasty, and then I got on Dallas. But
Dallas too.
yeah, I did a lot of things before I ever went to soaps. But the soaps, Bill Bell was always reaching out to my agent, and he had made me several offers to go to B&B back in the day. And then they would ask me about Y&R, and I, I had friends that did soaps at Diamont, of course, I'd known since we were kids. And I had friends who were really, really happy doing soaps. But my agents, they were just steering me in another direction. And
They
finally,
don't want
I
you to
told,
do that. If you're doing nighttime
no,
films, they don't want you to do.
yeah, yeah. And I was getting a shot at all the great pilots. I was really getting my shot well beyond probably what I deserved. But I was very, very fortunate that I had folks that represented me for many years that really liked me and believed in me, and they were just good at getting me in. But so I had some really, really nice shots. But I used to tell my agent, I said, I have horses and I've been boarding for years, and I finally bought my first ranch, and I just don't want to go on location. I just don't really want to. Everything was going to North Carolina, and it was going to Europe. You know, they're going. What was the country? Yugoslavia. Remember they were filming over there all the
Yeah,
time, and just
Romania too.
Canada. I went up to Canada several times. I said, I just want something where I can stay home. Well, and I said, my friends do soaps, and I said they're really happy doing the soaps. Don't they like have their regular dressing room or something? Because I reoccurred on days back in like '82. I don't ever talk about this, but I reoccurred on days back in '82, and then I had a little reoccurring on Y&R, and they never even brought it up years later when I took the role of Colt
That
Howard.
happened with me with One Life to Live.
Yeah,
Can't believe you're
yeah,
saying that.
yeah,
I,
yeah.
I played a
I
tiny
think
part that nobody remembers.
casting knows, but they won't always say, "Hey, by the way, we brought them in. They did it under five, or we brought them in. They reoccurred for 3 days." It was one of those kind of deals, and I was always glad I didn't say anything. But anyway, same thing with me. I just wanted stability. And of course, then I had my first child, and I really just had the ranch. I just wanted a normal life. And you and I were very fortunate, the daytime community would allow us in, and give us the opportunity to do that. And I absolutely love my time in daytime. So
Me too.
forever grateful
I
for it.
love the fact that you got to work on the same character for a really long time.
Yeah, me
And,
too. I love that.
and when I've done films and I have to create the backstory, which I always do for my daytime characters, but then I can keep at it, and follow the arc as the show goes along. Well, in a movie,
Yes.
you have to have everything that happened before in your head and your body, and
Yeah.
everything that's going to happen in the future in the end. You have to create all that, and you can't miss a beat.
Yes.
And there's no other day, there's no other time, and every relationship is brand new. Every person is
Yes.
brand new.
Yeah.
Um, so it's more difficult, and you don't know how it's going to turn out because every
Yeah.
time you do it, it's a brand new person. You've never worked with them before. You're working with them now.
Yeah.
You do the best you can, and somebody says, "How'd it go?" And you're like, "I have no idea."
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Sure.
But in daytime, and the longer you're in it, the more you know
Yeah.
that it's great and you can count on it and it's fun.
Yeah. I love it. I know I've told my wife in the past, I said, gosh, I said, playing Cole Howard, the role that I play on YNR today, I said, he's truly, I've loved a lot of characters that I've played, but Cole Howard has a special place in my heart. I truly love the character. I have this affection, and I'm sure other actors feel the same way. It's an extension of yourself, but it's almost like it's your child. And when I look back on Cole, when I played him more than 30 years ago, when I first started playing, he's like a child to me. My thoughts and my uh, this protectiveness that I have towards this person, and it's just I love that about daytime.
I do
I
too.
just have truly loved it more than any other medium. And the other thing too is what's the most frustrating thing is obviously getting one take and the pace in which we move. But on the other side of the coin, I love that. I've always been one that I love live TV. I love stage. I like having the gun to the head where you have that pressure, it's that whole rush of having to nail it, in that one
I do
take.
too. I think
I love that.
we're both nuts. You know that. We're both
Yeah.
just nuts. Because if
Yeah.
somebody comes in from the outside to try to do, it's an actor on it's anything else, and they come in and
Yeah.
they try to do this,
Yeah.
they're 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 devastated.
Yeah. It's
They're
true.
like, "What are you
Yeah.
doing? How
Yeah.
could you possibly expect me to get that in one take? We haven't
Yes.
even done a rehearsal. What's it?" And we're like,
Yeah. It's shocking to people who are not used to it. And I can tell you, I've always said this, I would come and say to my wife, truly, I went to Days first before I went to YNR. But when I went to Days, I came home after a week or so and I told my wife, I said, let me tell you something, these are the best actors I've ever worked with in my career. I said, for these people to nail this material the way that they do. And she's, well, honey, you worked with, in Dallas and you were here. And I'm telling you, what they're able to do, they're the best actors I've ever worked with. And that was really true. And then same thing too when I went to YNR. Same thing too when I went to All My Children. Uh, uh, Hands down, I just think the best actors I've ever
"Did
worked
you
with.
live in New York when you were on All My Children?
Yeah, yeah, I did. I did. Yeah, I
So
love
did
New
you
York.
keep your
Yeah,
ranch and move there for?"
yeah, yeah. I kept our ranch. It was, we were moving there as a family, and um, my kids were at an age, I think when I moved there, my youngest was 5 and my other boy was 9. So they were 5 and 9, and they had a tremendous life. We had a very private property with all of the things that a boy growing up could possibly want. We had the zip line and the pool and the horses and the mini bikes and the go-kart and the basketball court, the paintball field. We had it all. Tree houses,
Where did
everything. It
you
was
live?
really we lived in Agua Dulce,
Where's
north of
that?
LA. Agua Dulce is
Oh, you mean in LA?
yeah, it's just beyond. It's where Vasquez Rocks are at. They do a lot of filming.
So when you
Vasquez.
in New York, what did you do?
Oh, in New York, I lived in the city. I lived on the Upper West Side of the city. But what I was going to say was, we were moving to New York as a family, and my wife just started. She came, she visited. She's, I don't know if we want to take the boys out of here. And I had made friends with a couple of actor, director friends of mine that used to be teachers, but were acting. They were teaching on the side, trying to be actors. And I spent a lot of time with them, and I really kind of noticed, wow, the kids in New York are way ahead of my country kids, way, way ahead. My kids are so sheltered. They went down our private road to enter the gates of their little school in Agua Dulce. You know what I mean? They didn't even get on a bus I mean, they literally went down. We had a private road outside of my gate and had a private road down to the end, to the gate of the school. They were very protected. And at that time, I wanted that for them. And moving to New York, I was at that age, I was really afraid it would be a lot for my boys to handle. So I ended up commuting it. I commuted it for 3 years. In the summertime, they would come up and live with me in the city, and I'd have people, move into the ranch and take care of our 19 animals and take care of the property and things. But I commuted home almost weekly, almost weekly. And sometimes if I'd had 3 days off and I could fly home for 12 hours, I'd fly home for 12 hours.
Yeah.
And I miss my family tremendously.
Yeah.
It was really,
Well,
really
I moved my kids from Cleveland, Ohio to New York,
hard.
um, because I left LA when I'd just gotten an Emmy nomination and done the nighttime opening for the Emmys. I was really at the top of my game in 97, but I really wanted to get married and have children, and so I
Yeah.
did. And
Good
he
for you.
and he was from Cleveland, so I left
Oh,
everything and moved to Cleveland, and that was hard, but I did it. And then when I was there, I sort of felt like a like a Martian, 'cause
yeah.
I just didn't have anything in common really. I'm a
Yeah,
down-to-earth
yeah,
person and,
yeah,
Southern and Midwest roots, but
yeah.
I needed something else. So he got me an apartment in the city, and we started going there with the kids a lot, and, um, I always had my house in Connecticut, so we got another house in Connecticut. We left Cleveland, we just kept going that direction, and, we lived I had my office for my production company on 76th and First, so we got
Hmm.
a penthouse at 84th and First, and the kids went to a private girls' school,
Wow.
and it was the greatest thing that ever happened. I've never I used to think it would be bad to raise children there. It was the greatest thing ever. Like, I was one of the parents, so one of the room moms, and it was all girls,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So one day we're gonna go to, the art class is gonna walk up to the MoMA and the Guggenheim, and we're gonna draw our rendition of irises, you know?
Hmm.
So their little skirts and their little white shirts and their knee-high socks and we're walking up to the museum, and we go in the museum and we go see Vincent van Gogh, and it's the
Wow.
Vincent van Gogh painting.
Right, right,
And the
exactly.
kids
Yeah.
and the kids are laying on the floor with their pads, and they're drawing their rendition of Vincent van Gogh's paintings. And I'm thinking, "Oh my God, who gets to do that?"
Absolutely.
And when
Yeah,
they went to play on recess, they went to Central Park.
yeah, yeah.
Who
It's tremendous.
gets to
It
do
really,
that? I mean, it was just amazing, you know?
yeah. It is. It is. It's a wonderful place to be. And to be honest, I had passed on all my children. They came after me 2 different times, and I passed both times. And then the third time, I ended up taking the opportunity there because my wife wanted to introduce the kids to something different than Southern California.
That's great.
And I was really surprised when she says, you know what, I really think it'd be really good for the kids to live and experience something different. And I was like, oh wow. She said, I think we could put them in really good schools in New York, and I think it would be. And truly, what got me a little gun shy was I would meet other kids from friends of mine's children or other kids, even in my building, that were the same age as my kids. And I'm like, man, those kids are like way ahead of my country bumpkins. They're way ahead. And it scared me a little bit. And I thought, man, they have such a great life. They really, really have everything that my wife and I ever dreamt of them having. I don't want to, I don't want to, you know,
Take it from them.
I just don't want to take it from them, and I don't want to risk that. And I have to tell you, I really believe that I made the right decision
Mhm.
by commuting it and doing what we did, because they certainly were introduced to New York, and they lived in the city, in the summer, and I was still working on the show, and we would go outside the city. We would go all over the
Yeah.
Northeast, and all the beautiful things. I was born actually in Lynchburg, Virginia,
I saw
and
that.
yeah, and my mother and father both lived in Long Island right up until the time I was born, and then my dad got transferred to Virginia and had my sister and I, and then my other siblings after that. But but so we spent we would travel, we'd go to New York all the time. I went to the 64 World's Fair, and
So easy. It's so easy when you're there.
oh, it was
You
fantastic. It
just
was
get on
just
the
fantastic.
train and
We
drive.
would just go all, but we my parents had a travel trailer, and they were big, they loved the fish, and
Yeah,
I mean all up and down the Atlantic seaboard. I mean all the way up,
I know. I love
all the
it.
way up to all the way up to Maine. We would go from
Wow.
Florida to Maine.
That's incredible.
So I love the East Coast.
So do I.
We go to Point Pleasant all the time when I was a little boy, so I would take my kids down to Point Pleasant, and
Yeah.
it offers a lot of things. I think,
I think
you
it's
know,
nice to show your children different things. And
it's very important. My dad was an international businessman, and he traveled the whole world. And I know in my hometown where I grew up, I had one other friend, and his father was a jeweler. And I remember they would go to Russia and go, throughout the Middle East, and they even went to Africa.
wow.
And they were the only other family that I knew that traveled internationally. Now, I didn't travel internationally as a boy, but my father did. And I loved his stories. I mean, every time he would come home, he traveled all over the world,
Yeah.
from,
Wow.
from Asia to New Zealand to Australia to all over the world. The Middle East, did a lot of business in the Middle East.
Wow.
And I would love his stories. And that's truly what made me leave my hometown. I loved my hometown of Joplin, Missouri, but I wanted to come out to LA. I had been out here before, 2 years earlier, and I truly was, I just I wanted to learn how to surf. I wanted to live on the beach. I just wanted that Southern California lifestyle. And I thought, well, what can I do to support that? Well, I'm decent at voiceovers. I think I can do that. And that's why I came. I didn't
Isn't
actually
that
come for
something?
the business. I truly came for the sunshine, and I love Southern California.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
But you've done so many other things. I mean, you've done so much nighttime television and movies, and then you did some directing and producing, and you did some businessman stuff, some executive
Well,
stuff. What was that?
yeah, I when I was at All My Children, I had a friend of mine, and he was an actor, but he's really more of a director and producer. And he had nice access to funding, and he basically just had to put together, a business plan and things on a multi-picture deal that just looked somewhat promising, and I think his investors were pretty much on board with him. And he came to me one time and said, "Hey man, will you take a look at my business plan?" And I was like, "Yeah, okay." And I take a look at it. I said, "Well, this isn't actually a business plan," because he knew I had written business plans when I was in college. And he said, "Yeah, yeah, I know. I don't really know how to do it." And I said, "Well, this is more of an executive summary." I said, "But I can show you and I can help you with a business plan." So that was my first kind of experience at writing a business plan and getting funding. And from there, I started doing more of that for startups in the entertainment business, everything from fitness products, this and that. And I had a friend of mine that was a model that modeled with me, that was an investment banker, and
Wow.
they were super smart and licensed to the hilt to do everything. But they raised money for a lot of different things. And they also raised money, mostly all different kinds of things, but they raised money in oil and gas. And one of the producers of a film that I did in Houston was in the oil and gas business. And he's saying, "Man, what I do is a great play." And he'd had a really good track record. And I'm like, "I don't know anything about oil and gas." But he knew that I had found funding and things for production companies and other ventures and whatnot. Uh, and so he was hitting on me all the time. And finally, I just said, "Man, I don't know anything about oil and gas. I don't know anything about it." He said, "Hey, I'm going to teach you. I'm going to teach you everything about oil and gas and how you make money in it. And I'm going to teach you what we do and what we've done in the past." And he did. And he did.
Wow.
So I went off and I joined forces with this a friend of mine, and that was kind of our first
It was a
foray into that.
Mara
Well,
effect.
that wasn't, no, that was different. So, but basically, what I'm saying is that I started venturing out of acting, trying to raise, basically writing business plans. So I would get paid, and my investment banker partner did all the heavy lifting. They just didn't like to write, and I was okay with the writing. So that's really the way it started. And from there, I met people and got more into the corporate world and did a little corporate speaking and this and that. And I was involved
That's
in the
fascinating to me.
cutting horse industry. And one of my best friends was very involved in that industry. And I used to go to a lot of events. And I had met two gentlemen. Their wife was a fan of the show and still is to this day. But 20 years ago, I met them, and they were in the healthcare business. They were in direct, not network marketing, more direct sales, healthcare business. The very first ones in the industry to do what they did, and that was a company called Ameriplan. It's still
Okay,
around
that's the
today.
one I was looking for.
Yes, and they, when Obamacare came in, or when they knew Obamacare was coming in, they thought it was going to greatly affect their business. So they said, "Hey, we want to get into something else." And it was fine. They did a lot of vetting and things, and it came out to be financial services. And they knew me. They knew I had a business background. We had several talks back and forth. I'd fly to Dallas and several times in meeting them. And one day they sat me down with the lawyers in a conference room and offered me a tremendous opportunity for a dumb actor.
Clearly
And
not.
I
Clearly not a
literally,
dumb actor. Clearly
they
not.
they they truly, truly offered me a tremendous opportunity to head up and start a brand new division for this company. And I went and mirrored another CEO who was really the most successful person within this area of an industry. And I mirrored him because we were delegating a lot of our services to him, to the tune to where it was a lot of money for his company. And we were more marketers, and they were the ones really doing the heavy lifting. You notice how I like to get other people to do the heavy lifting, and
That's
I
very
try
smart. That's
because
not a dumb actor. That's
I
a
am
very, that's
I'm
a
just
smart
limited.
man.
I'm limited, and I stay in my lane. But anyway, it was a tremendous opportunity. They gave me a contract in front of my face with a bonus. In your the corporate world, it can be
A lot.
pretty nice. And they put some in front of my face, and I went from. They said, "But you know what, Jay Eddie? Yeah. Are you sure you're ready to turn your back on Hollywood? Are you sure?" And let me tell you, I was ready. I wasn't ready, but I was ready. I became ready really quick because I
Yeah.
knew that this was gonna be a really nice opportunity for me and my family. And let me tell, I absolutely loved that opportunity of
Wow.
creating a company and a sales field and my staff and creating every aspect of it.
That's
I
great.
absolutely loved it. It was a lot of hours. It was 75 to 80 hours a week. It didn't have to be, but I made it. I made it that way because I was so determined to make it successful,
Right.
so determined to be successful at it, and also to just out of respect to give it everything I had for those people that believed in me so much.
That's right.
I am forever grateful for that opportunity, and it was really really nice, really really nice. The only reason I really left it was because my mother-in-law was living in Dallas, Texas, and my family was here. My wife was living there part-time. My boys were going to college and all that. One was finishing high school, and you know, I the move there wasn't what they wanted to do. My mother-in-law, my beautiful Italian mother-in-law, who lived with my wife and I for 35 years,
Oh, wow.
she was in poor health. She was in her 90s, and her health was really failing. And so I came back here, and I ran the company from here for a while, and eventually, and I would fly back there, and I just knew it really wasn't.
Did you love Dallas?
I really liked. I lived in Plano. I absolutely loved Plano. I love the people that I work with. I loved everything about it. I mean,
My daughter went to
uh,
SMU.
yes, yes. I saw another. Oh yeah yeah yeah. When you were talking with Don Diamont. Yeah,
Yeah.
I saw you mention, and it's funny you said that because my son almost went. to SMU. My son Austin, he ended up he got into SMU and Baylor and ended up enrolling in Baylor. And about 2 days before he was going, he decided to pull out of Baylor.
He did?
And yeah, he did. And there, I think what it was is they had a little controversy at the time. They would forgive me, I'm kicking the tripod. They had some controversy, and my son came and he said, "You know what, Dad? I'm a little concerned about getting my degree from a place that has a lot of controversy around just, around maybe some of the politics and things." And he ended up going to Georgetown.
I saw that.
Oh,
That's
yeah. So
huge.
yeah. So anyway, but yeah, he almost went to SMU, and I was really, really excited because at that time, here I am, I'm loving living in Dallas. And I've got one boy who's going to go to SMU. I'm thinking there for a short time. Hey, and it just, I was so close to be able to move my whole family there. And when I came here, actually, I came back, we kept our home and everything. When I came back, I guess I really thought I would really never live here again. And here I am,
Yeah.
here I am. My boys are Southern California guys,
Yeah.
and we've looked for
Seen some of
years
the
for other
warm.
places to go, but my gosh, I got two surfer sons. What are you gonna do?
I'm just
They
glad
love
they've
it.
seen part of the world.
Yeah,
I feel badly when I meet people from California and they've never been anywhere else. I mean,
yeah, oh yeah,
they just think it's the be all and end all, and they've never really been anywhere else. And
it's true. It's true.
um, when I left California, when I got killed off at General Hospital the first time, and I went to New York to do One Life to Live, um, I really was just praying for a job. And, you know, then I got the job and I said, okay, God, please help me get the want tos. I need to have the want tos that I want to move there. And, and so I did. I finally woke up one morning and I wanted to move there, and I was going to move there for 2 years only and then come back and get a little postage stamp piece of grass,
Yeah,
on Benefit Street on this side of Beverly Glen in the valley,
yeah.
north of south of Ventura. That was
Hmm.
going to be my plan. So I was going to go there
Hmm.
for 2 years and come back and buy a little teeny 2 or 3 bedroom house right there. And
Yeah.
never came back.
Oh,
Came back. I never did. It
you know,
was so funny.
I, it's, I'm listening to you say this. I'm thinking about the different places that I have lived, and I lived in Europe, for a couple of years too, in my modeling days and things. But I've never lived anywhere, Tanya, where I wasn't happy. Every place that I've ever been. So, like I used to always tell my wife when I would go off and I did a lot of personal appearances when I was in daytime.
Hmm.
And I used to tell my wife, gosh, everywhere I go has something special. I'm not saying you want to live there necessarily,
Yeah,
but it may be the food, it may be the topography, it might be whatever, it might be a sports team, whatever. But everywhere that I went, and we go to like most anywhere that's 25,000 people and above,
that's right.
they watch daytime. And, but everywhere I went had something special about it. um, I'm kind of easy to please in that way. I'm a pretty easy person to please in general.
I just find I
Yeah,
like people. I like
yeah,
people, and I like to
me
learn
too. Me
what it
too.
is that turns them on, what it is makes them
Absolutely.
happy.
Yeah, I'm really simple like that. I mean, I can have a conversation with a stranger. I'm happy as a lark.
Me
Yeah,
too. I
yeah,
always say I can talk to anybody for an hour, and my kids are like that.
yeah, yeah. That's great. That's a great to have the desire to just engage with other people is a it's a really nice. I'm not talking about me. I'm just talking about our kids.
Our children.
Yeah,
Yeah,
to have our children that just have the desire and the interest to engage with other people. Both of my boys have that. I love that.
it's a big
Um,
deal.
it is. It is.
I think it helps.
It may not be as outgoing as me as like, my boys always said, Dad, there's not a waiter in town that you don't know. Like, well, I mean, I've seen him a couple of times. He seems like a good guy. And we just kind of got to talking. And you know what? Let me tell you I tell you where he's from. And it's really a really cool place. I went there one time.
Yep, and
It's
you
that
know all
that
about
that
it.
kind of thing. That
Yep,
kind of thing.
yep, yeah.
And as much as they criticize me, they're right behind me. They are right behind me. And I sometimes think it's kind of a Peck family trait. My dad was that way. He just made a friend everywhere he went.
Yeah, that's a
You
big
know?
deal. That's a
Yeah.
big deal. So what is going on now after 30 years? You're back on Young and the Restless, and what is going on there?
Well, I returned exactly 24 years after I left. I left just before 2000, right at the end of the year. And I returned a year ago, October. So it was exactly 24 years later. And uh, Cole was involved with Victoria Newman for most of that time, even though he did stray, well, I shouldn't say stray, he had other relationships. He married Ashley Abbott, uh,
Wow.
was played by Sherry Shattuck at the time, and then later Eileen came in,
Right.
and I worked with Eileen. But at the same time that he was married with Ashley, Cole was still basically seeing Victoria,
In love with
the
Victoria.
love of his life, and she truly was the love of his life. And they had a child together that that didn't survive. It was this child supposedly died just after birth, and her name was Baby Eve. And Cole and Victoria took it very, very hard.
Mhm.
Well, here we are, all these years later. As it turned out,
He didn't die.
I have an evil aunt played by Colleen Zink, and my evil aunt Jordan had actually kidnapped and switched that baby out with another baby. I don't know what happened to the other baby, but switched our baby Eve out and raised baby Eve to hate her parents, to hate the Newmans. And that's obviously what brought Colleen Zink to the villain, this, if you will, to YNR a year ago. And she lures Cole back. So we arrive on the same day in town, and she lures Cole back because she used Nikki's phone to make it sound as though Victoria was in trouble, and Victoria needed help. So I go back, and I've been in Oxford all these years. Cole was a writer and novelist, and he was a professor at Oxford. So he returns from Oxford, returns to Genoa City, and yeah, it's been really fun, really exciting.
So is Eve, who's playing Eve?
Eve is played by Haley Aaron, and the character goes by Claire today, and Haley does a wonderful job. She plays
So
my
Claire
daughter.
and Eve are the
Yeah.
same person?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so she
Yeah.
changed her name.
Yes.
Okay.
Exactly. Yeah. You're doing great. I'm not explaining this very well, but you're doing a really good
Oh,
job
you did a
for me.
great job, actually. I really like that. So, Colleen left for a while and now she's back?
Yeah. Yeah. She left, I think, in June, or maybe it was May, something like that. So she was gone about 4.5 months, I think. 4.5, 5 months, and they brought her and Ray Wise. Ray is kind of her accomplice, and they brought her and Ray Wise back, and they're having fun.
I love that
And
show.
yeah,
I love that show. I love the fact that they continue to bring back people and that they have a stable full of actors that
mhm,
they keep alive and they keep
mhm.
involved with so that the audience has this history, you know,
Yes,
and they never poo-poo the history.
yeah,
They embrace the history, they use the history, they and it really makes fans lifetime fans
exactly.
because they come back and they say, I saw that person. I went to, I remember them when I was in third grade and now there
Yeah,
they are and they're, and it's a feeling that these people and it's a wonderful thing that they do
it
that.
is. It is. It's almost as if it's a wonderful service, I think, that they do for the viewers. I have a number of folks that will reach out to me and say, obviously, people will say, well, my mom knew you and liked you and watched you. But I have a lot of folks that say, hey, my grandmother was a fan of yours, and I would sit there as a little girl. And I'm now X amount of years, but I get a lot of that, and they do a wonderful job of keeping these legacy characters. and the thing is too, when you watch the show, you oftentimes, because I've still watched it for years, even when I wasn't on it, and you would feel like, oh wow, these folks have been on forever and ever. But there were also a lot of other wonderful actors that made tremendous mark for a long time, maybe 10 years. Uh, and they aren't back. And they are sorely missed, and they haven't gotten that opportunity to go back. And but when you look at, there's just so many people, they can't
Right.
keep everyone busy.
Of
I
course.
think they do a really great job of utilizing, again, these longtime legacy characters that the viewers have just grown to love so
Mhm.
much and over the years. And I love the history of it. I The longer they've been on, the more I love it,
Me
because I
too.
just think that it just adds such value and depth to the show, and it celebrates these people, meaning that the audience as well as these actors deserve to be celebrated, I think, for the contribution that
Me too.
they have made, to the show. And
Me
I know
too.
for me, it's truly an honor that I'm forever grateful. I've said to my wife many times, I wonder if Josh Griffith needs any sort of work done, like over at his house. Like I could go, I'm super handy. I do everything. And I
I
said,
can
you
imagine.
know, I wonder if he needs like something built or done. I
I've
just
been
don't know
dying to
how
talk.
to
He was,
show my gratitude to
yeah.
him.
I've been dying to talk to him, but I can't get through the wall. It's really hard to
Yeah.
get anybody to answer the phone anymore. But
Yeah.
he was
Yeah.
the writer
Yeah.
on my show when I was in my,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
He and Michael Malone.
Yeah. Yeah, well, yeah, he's had an incredible career.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I'm just obviously, I mean, you know what it's like to get that call.
Yeah, it's
And
the greatest thing ever.
yeah, it's the greatest thing
The
ever.
greatest thing ever.
Yeah.
But it's
Yeah.
also nice to do a whole bunch of other things which you've been able to do. You've had a really
Yeah.
well-rounded
Yeah.
life.
Yeah, I never thought. I remember the day I told my longtime agent who had retired. I was my agent for 20 years, and we're still very close to this day. He's in his 80s. And I remember the day I said to him, "Hey, I think I might leave acting." I never thought those words would ever come out of my mouth. But um, Tanya, if you as an actor, if you divert your attention towards other things,
Mhm.
your career can leave you. And I was really, really through the 2000s, I was still working and doing things, but I was always trying to launch my production company and get that going and sell this and do that. And I'm writing my business plans. I was doing all kinds of other things because it felt good to do something that you're winning, or that has a direction or a future to it. And I'd been an actor for so long. I had worked nonstop for over 23 years, and I was really ready to utilize another part of my um, just to try to do different things. But when you go off and do those things, be careful, because
Well, that's
people
what happened
people
to
will
me.
forget.
I
Yeah,
did
people
go off
forget
and
about you really quick. Yeah,
yeah, I did
yeah.
go off and do those things. But I'm
But
sure
you, but you know what, Tanya? When I saw your name out there circulating and going and jumping around on social media, I never forgot about you. And I never forgot about the good work that you did on that show. And
Thank
I thought you were great. I do remember the day you came on.
thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was
That was
lucky.
just, I love that show. That was my favorite show. I never watched All My Children, never watched Y&R, never watched Days. Watched GH and One Life to Live in the late 70s and going into the 80s.
Yeah. That One
And
Life to Live was my very favorite thing to do. I
yeah,
I
yeah.
because I had so much leeway.
Tremendous show. I just love the show.
I got to
Yeah,
do everything, everything, you know.
yeah,
I just got to do everything there.
yeah,
And I was very lucky that way.
yeah.
The writers have to decide that they're gonna pick up on the things that you're doing
Hmm.
because I was an evil person and I came out of a mental institution and I decided she was going to have a sense of humor.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
the way she was going to look at the world from that moment on was going to be a little bit different. Just and as because she had to survive, and she'd been an attorney, and she couldn't be an attorney anymore because she went to a mental institution for trying to kill somebody. So when she comes out, she's got to have a different tweak, a different set of tools. So she started using her feminine wiles more. She started using her brain more. She got very manipulative, but had a really great sense of humor. She figured out what everybody wanted to hear and did it. And that's why it was so much fun, you know.
Yeah.
It just got more and more fun all the time.
Yeah.
And but I've been writing a lot. I've got a 10 hour series that I'm almost finished with. And I produced a film and I paid for it myself in '07. But now I need a
Wow.
business plan. And I need somebody to pay for stuff. But I've got a bunch of
Yeah.
projects that I'd like to do.
Good
I really
for
do. I
you.
do
That's
like
fantastic.
I
Yeah.
like creating things, you know.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, I do too. I do too. And I'm not doing any of that right now. But I did for a number of years. And it's always like to tell my family, well, I love writing and I really thought that I thought I was going to be good at producing, but at the end of the day, I really wasn't. I really wasn't good enough to really get my company going to, I optioned some things and did some things, but I really wasn't good enough to get it going, and it was a little disappointing. But I've enjoyed the journey so much, because I have gone in different directions and done things that I never thought I would do, and I'm very fortunate, that I've been able to enjoy it, just enjoy even the downtimes, enjoy those. I've always been one to always embrace downtime and always embrace when that cycle, takes a downturn and you're in a place to where you've got to be much more creative and think outside the box and
Yeah.
and watch how you're spending your money and be that dad. Hey, don't ruin that. Hey, don't you know how much that sofa costs?
That's right.
I'm not buying another one. No, I wasn't that hard. But anyway,
But that's what happens. That's what happens. They get used to having everything they want, and then all of a sudden you got to be a little more careful. And
yeah.
that's a good life lesson for everybody, though, you know? So anyway.
Yeah. I've always been one that I've always treasured anything that I have, whether it's a friend, a relationship, a dog, a car, a piece of clothing, a piece of clothing. I was showing somebody the other day long. I say, I don't know, we were talking about spending money. I'm like, yeah. I'm the kind of person that, I'm gonna fix and keep something that I have. Like I have my childhood bikes. Still have
Wow.
my childhood bikes.
Wow.
But I was showing somebody the other day, hey, they had just commented on how cool my leather logging boots were, but they're not really a logging boot because they got like a walking heel in them, a small vibrant sole. I said, hey, I've had these for 34 years. They've been resold 4 times. I wear them all the time. No way. I'm like, yeah. When I have something I like, I hang on to it. Just
Yeah.
ask my wife.
Yeah. My husband did that too. Well, glad
Yeah.
glad you hung on to her.
Yeah.
My
Yeah.
husband used to have his shoes resold, and I'd never met any man that ever did that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
he always did that.
I just get attached to things that have a meaning to me. I'm very sentimental, and I get attached to things like that.
Well,
Yeah.
I just really hope that I get to see you in person before too long. And
Yeah. So you're out in Palm Desert.
I am. Right now I'm in Maryland,
Yeah.
but I live in Palm Desert, but I'm going to start
Yeah.
spending more time in LA because I need to. I need to run
Yeah.
into people and see people and schmooze with people.
Absolutely. I know. I've never been good at that. I
Yeah,
just have never, I've never been good at it. First of all, I'm so consumed with, first of all, whatever my wife wants to do first.
that's
And then
good.
after that, it's my boys. And I have these adult sons and whatever they're doing, we're involved in it.
Yeah.
We have, Airbnb business and we do different things together and ventures together. And my youngest, well, we're all car nuts. We love cars and building cars and toys and things like that. So we do that all the time.
Well,
But
my dad won the national award for putting a Model T Ford together from like 1917 or something. It was a Model T,
wow.
and it was perfect.
Wow. So did he do the fabrication and do it
Everything,
himself?
everything,
No kidding. So
everything.
when you grew up, that your dad was fabricating cars in the garage and that sort of thing, or?
Larry is the, well, when he created a monopoly of all the Watling. Watling is a company that makes slot machines since the 1800s, I think, for a long.
Wow.
And he collected all the parts throughout his young youth that you need to make to fix slot machines. So when he married my mom after my dad died, we had a 3-car garage, and next thing you know, it's filled with shelves with slot machine parts all over, and then
Wow.
slot machines, antique slot machines, more antique slot machines. So he's got more antique slot machines than you've ever seen in your entire life, and it's his hobby, but it's a very lucrative hobby. But
Yes.
if anybody needs anything like that fixed, he's the man. He's the man that does it. So then he decided when he retired, haha, that he would rebuild a Model T Ford. And so he entered it in the national contest or whatever, and he won. And it drives,
Oh,
I mean,
yes.
and it was just a piece of metal when he started out with
Now,
it.
did it have the steering on the stick, or do you recall? Did it steer with the
It was a
stick?
stick down here.
Uh-huh.
So there was a
Wow.
steering wheel, but the stick was,
Yeah. Always. Oh, okay. So it did have the steering wheel. Yes.
yeah.
Okay.
But now
Wow.
he's doing another one. He's doing
Huh.
another one.
What may I ask? What age is your father?
He's 70, let's see, 6 years younger than about 80, 79 or 80.
Wow. He's
Yeah.
very young.
He works really hard. He works all
Good
the time.
for him. But he's still a very young man. That's fantastic.
Yeah, he works all the time and it works hard. And
Yeah.
but it's supposed to be his time off, It's supposed
Yeah.
to be,
Yeah.
he's never going to be a guy
Yeah.
that retires. They're
I
redoing the downstairs. We had a basement that was full of his slot machine things
yes.
and antiques, antique this, antique that, constantly going to these auctions and everything. And really amazing pieces. And so it was just full, and mom didn't like it that she couldn't go down the basement. She couldn't even make her way between all the crap down there. So he built a 3-car garage that's out here in another little house, and it's full of all the stuff that was in the basement. So now
Wow.
they're redoing the whole basement. It's never a dull moment around my house. It's
Well,
never.
that's wonderful that
Yeah.
you have both your parents and that they're so active and they have such rich, full lives. You're very, very fortunate.
Yeah, my dad died when I
Yeah.
was 20, 23, 24.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
me
Wow.
remarried, and he's been a
Yeah.
wonderful stepfather. So
That's wonderful. That's fantastic.
yeah, yeah. I hope I can do the same for my girls. I just haven't met the man yet, so we'll see what
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
happens. Anyway,
Huh.
thank you so much for being my wonderful, wonderful guest. I'm so tickled that I got to know you better, and I can't
Thank
wait
you,
to see you
Tanya.
in person. I'd love to meet your
Thank
wife,
you.
your boys,
Yeah,
and
thank you.
love to.
Thank you. Well, you have my number and give me a shout. And whenever I'm out your way, out in Palm Desert there,
Yep,
then I'll have to give you a shout. I haven't been out. I haven't been out. Matter of fact, my wife was just talking to me about a week ago about maybe going. We used to go out there all the time. We were
yeah,
kids. And when
yeah.
we were
It's
younger, we used to go out
beautiful.
there all
The
the
weather
time. But
today, these days, is very, very nice. This is the time of year.
yeah, this is the time of year. Exactly. Yeah, I love it out there. My wife actually lived in Palm Desert well, she in her early 20s before I met her, she lived in Palm Desert. Remember, she's always had an affection for it.
Yep.
But yeah, well, it's such a pleasure, and
Thank,
I appreciate the invitation to come on to your show,
thank you.
and I wish you all the best.
Yeah, you too.
Yeah, thank you, and your girls.
And your boys.
Thank you,
I think I
thank
may
you.
spread that little picture around to my kids and see.
Yeah,
I'll send you one
absolutely.
of ours. Okay.
Absolutely. Will you do that?
Happy
Well,
New Year.
thank you, hon. And you've got my number. Just give me a shout
You
anytime.
too. You too.
Okay.
God
All
bless
the
you.
best.
I'll let
God
you know
bless you
when this
too.
is on. Okay. Bye
Oh,
now.
that sounds great. Bye bye.
Thank you so much for being with me. Wasn't that wonderful? I just love J. Eddie Peck. Watch him on Young and the Restless now and look up all of his other things. Look up Lombada. What a great movie that was. And I will see you soon. Oh, if you like this episode, please like and subscribe down below and leave me some comments, and I'd be happy to comment back. Okay? Take care of everybody and your family and enjoy your new year. And I'm so happy that I got a show out during the holidays. It meant a lot to me to do that. So God bless you. See you later. Bye.